my first video in 2025, so here is me wishing my subscribers a happy new year. I pray this new year is a beautiful one for us all. Thanks for your support in 2024. Thank you for growing this channel with me. I sincerely appreciate you all. God bless you. This tutorial is going to be a short one. I just want to show us how to make these beautiful sleeves. So guys, let's get into the video. To make this sleeve, you need two fabric, an organza fabric and a chantilly lace. The remaining fabric here is for the full dress, which I'll be uploading the video in my next post. My organza is 1.5 yard, but you can use up to 2 to 2.5 yards, depends on how full you want the ruffles to be. And the chantilly lace is 1 yard. I will start by drafting a basic sleeve on this pattern paper, and the straight line here is the starting line. Now from the starting line, I'll come down by 4.5 inches, which is the cap height or the bicep line. From the starting line again, I'll come down by 14 inches, which is the elbow line. Then I'll measure the full length of this sleeve. I want it to be 23 inches long plus 1 inch sewing and hem allowance, that's 24 inches. But I have 22.5 inches here, so when cutting on my fabric, I will add the remaining inches. I will label this as the cap height and this as the elbow line. The next thing to do is to measure round the armhole on your dress. Whatever you have there, you divide it into 2 and measure it on the cap height line. Mine is 9 inches. Then connect that point into a slant line towards the center like so. Then on this slant line, you get the midpoint. Then you extend that point with a curve a little below the slant line and a little above the slant line. Now we have to retake our armhole measurements on this curve. Remember I said mine is 9 inches. What I have on this curve is 10 inches. So I remarked my 9 inches. And here you can add your sewing allowance if you are drafting directly on your fabric. On the elbow line, mark your round elbow measurements divided by 2. And at the hem here, you mark your round wrist measurements divided by 2. I will connect the points together. And this is all for the drafting of this basic sleeve. I will cut it out now. Next thing to do is to transfer this pattern to my fabric. So I folded this lace into 4 as I wanted to cut the two sleeves together, and I added ½ inch sewing allowance at the top here, 1 inch at the side and 1.5 inches at the hem. I will go over to my sewing machine now to stitch the hem. I will give it a double fold, then run a stitch on it. For the ruffles, I already cut out the organza into pieces. The height is 9 inches, which is 4.5 inches on fold, and the length is 60 inches. The 1.5 yard was able to cut out 6 pieces, which means each sleeve will have 3 pieces of this gathered around it. Now I will go over to the sewing machine and run a loose stitch at the top of this folded piece, and I'll do the same to the remaining 5 pieces. After running the loose stitch, the next thing to do is to gather this by pulling on one of the thread. And this is what you should have when you are done. I already did the same to the remaining pieces, and it's time to attach it to the sleeves. The first ruffle will be placed ½ inch above the hem. Now let's go over to the sewing machine together to stitch. Like I said, it will be ½ inch above the hem, and as you stitch, make sure you arrange the ruffle so that it will be properly placed. For the second ruffle, it will be placed at the tip of the first seam. So guys, you can see this is beginning to take shape. For the last ruffle, it won't be stitched like the first two, rather the seam will face inward. and I also place it at the tip of the second seam. This is what you will have after stitching. Now to cover up this part, I will top stitch on the last ruffle. Now that we are done stitching the ruffles, the next thing to do is to close the side of the sleeve. Now when you are about to close the side of the sleeve, you won't include the last ruffle. That is, you won't stitch it together, because as the first and second ruffle is facing down, the last ruffle is meant to face up. Now for that last ruffle, you push it inside because you are joining it separately. Then you continue closing the side of your sleeve. I didn't realize my camera stopped rolling, so I couldn't film the part where I joined that last ruffle separately. I'm sorry guys, there's not much to it, okay? I just stitched it separately and that was it. And this is all for the making of this sleeve. Thanks for watching guys. In my next video, I'll be sharing how to go about the cutting and the sewing of this dress. So if you find this tutorial helpful, please give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, kindly subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one.